Welcome to STEM Equity for Role Models, a brief training aimed to equip professionals to speak to students about careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. In the next half hour, I'm going to help you reflect on your experiences, provide you with the appropriate messaging, and prepare you to share your STEM story so that you can inspire students to consider a career and future in STEM. Hello there, I am Meagan Pollock, your host for this session, and I am a STEM ambassador. What does that mean exactly? Well, I am an engineer that is proud to be a positive and encouraging representative of technical disciplines, specifically to students. In 2007, while working as an engineer for Texas Instruments, I began volunteering to go speak to students about careers in engineering. The schools reached out to local professionals to be role models and to increase student awareness of opportunities in STEM. What incredibly rewarding experiences. It was some of those experiences that inspired me to return to school to earn a PhD in engineering education from Purdue University. And the work and research from my doctoral studies and consulting, combined with my experience as a STEM role model, inform what you will hear today. I'll share some of my experiences throughout the next half hour and hopefully inspire you to be the best role model and STEM ambassador that you can be. This session is provided to you by the National Alliance for Partnerships and Equity. NAEP is a consortium of state and local agencies, corporations, and national organizations committed to the advancement of access, equity, and diversity in classrooms and workplaces for women, men, and special populations. Learn more about NAEP at napequity.org. Without going into lengthy detail and lists of statistics, I want to briefly explain the rationale for this session. First of all, STEM careers are in demand. Improving STEM education is a national imperative so that we can increase the number of students prepared to meet the many demands of the growing STEM workforce. One way to meet the STEM demand is to increase the participation of women and minorities who are significantly underrepresented in many STEM disciplines, and many of the indicating causes are stereotypes, misconceptions, and a poor understanding of STEM careers. One proven approach to alleviate these concerns and enhance STEM education is to expose students to role models, that's you, that positively represent STEM disciplines by using language and messaging that is more accurate, more interesting, and more attractive to students today. This way, we can improve access, provide equity, and increase diversity within the future science, technology, engineering, and math workforce, and meet the demands of our nation. The overarching objective for this training session is to prepare you to be the best STEM ambassador and role model for students that you can be. To do that, I'm going to give you some background on the research that frames this approach and help you develop strategies for how to talk to students about STEM careers using correct and positive messaging. Most importantly, personal stories are the most compelling way to reach others, and throughout this session, it is my goal that you are challenged to reflect on your life and how to best tell your STEM story. Here you see an agenda for the session. First, we're going to talk about the research that grounds this discussion and creates a framework or model for STEM role models. And then we're going to put that framework into practice with specific strategies for engaging students. We'll spend the majority of our time on messaging and helping you to craft your personal story, as those are the key takeaways. The three key guidelines for STEM role models are, number one, promote proper and positive STEM messaging. Number two, dispel stereotypes and challenge misconceptions. And three, appeal to student work values. A STEM ambassador or role model should aim to achieve all three in their interactions with students. And throughout this session, we'll give you the tools that you need to do so. The guidelines for STEM role models are based on three sources of literature. The first is the report by the American Association of University Women released in 2010 entitled, Why So Few? Women in Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. The research summarized in this report, such as that of implicit bias, stereotype, threat, growth fixed mindset, and ultimately the report's recommendations for increasing the participation of women in STEM, are the foundation of the training. The second key source is Changing the Conversation, Messages for Improving Public Understanding of Engineering, a report commissioned by the National Academy of Engineering. The final source is a study by Duffy and Sedlacek, analyzing the work values associated with student career choices. The combination of these three provide us a framework for talking about STEM careers in a way that appeals to student interests and values in an equitable and accessible way, subsequently promoting and enabling diversity. The AAUW Why So Few report summarizes 8 environmental and social barriers that continue to block women's participation and progress in STEM. I want to quickly touch on 3 of them: stereotype threat, growth mindset, and implicit bias. I encourage you to read the report to learn more. Stereotypes such as boys are better at math and science than girls, or that engineering is for men, are perpetuated through implicit biases, the media, and the actual lack of diverse representation in fields such as engineering and computer science. Research has shown that stereotype threat, the threat of being viewed through the lens of a negative stereotype or the fear of doing something that would confirm that stereotype, is one reason why underrepresented groups do not choose math and science-based careers. The good news is that role models can help alleviate stereotype threat and aid students in identifying with careers in STEM. Exposing underrepresented groups to successful role models that fit their demographic can help counter negative stereotypes because they see that people like them can be successful and stereotype threat can be managed and overcome. It is important in our interactions with students that our stories naturally dispel stereotypes and misconceptions. You don't need to point out the stereotypes, just craft your story and engage with students in a way that is positive and interesting. The messages you will learn in this video will help you do that. Growth mindset is viewing intelligence as a changeable, malleable attribute that can be developed through effort. Fixed mindset is viewing intelligence as an inborn, uncontrollable trait. The work of Carol Dweck provides evidence that a growth mindset, as opposed to a fixed mindset, is likely to lead to greater persistence in the face of adversity and ultimately success in any realm. Therefore, promoting a growth mindset can help students be less affected by stereotype threat in math and science. A key message for you to pass on to students is that math is not an innate ability. If you work at it, you will get better. Allow me to share a story. While I excelled at math in grade school and college, it was because I worked really hard at it. I would often do my homework 2 and 3 times to make sure I understood and had the correct answers. I'm not going to lie, I did strive for perfection as a student. But many times I would get frustrated and think I just wasn't good at math because I was working so hard at it. It was in those times that I would chant to myself that I love math in a way to jokingly convince myself to not give up. I shared this story with an assembly of 3rd graders and made them chant with me 3 times out loud. I love math, I love math, I love math. Well, at the time I didn't know I was talking about fixed growth mindset. I was, and I made an impression on a young girl who wrote me a thank you note, pictured here. Looks like chanting helped her to succeed as well. Although instances of overt, explicit bias may be decreasing in our culture, implicit bias regarding gender and STEM careers continues to have an adverse effect. After all, research indicates that 3 out of 4 people have a strong implicit association of male with science and female with arts. You see, implicit biases are less conscious beliefs, and they underlie the negative stereotypes that continue to influence those underrepresented in STEM disciplines. The fact is, every one of us has biases. However, it is important to become aware of our biases so that we can adjust our behavior and discontinue the perpetuation of gender stereotypes, which will continue to limit the futures of younger generations. Pause the video now, or set a reminder to take the implicit association test to find out your bias regarding gender, careers, and science. Let your score inform you and inspire you to influence change. Because of deeply embedded implicit biases within our culture regarding gender, science, and careers in general, stereotypes exist and affect women. Research shows that the stereotype that men are better than women in STEM areas can affect girls' performance, how they judge their performance, and their aspirations. You can help eliminate the stereotype by talking about the greater numbers of women and girls who are achieving at higher levels in STEM subjects and fields than ever before, and by pointing out the lack of gender difference in performance in nearly every STEM subject. The more people hear this kind of information, the harder it becomes for them to believe, even implicitly, that boys and men are better in those areas. So let's spread the word. Let's spread the word about girls' and women's achievements in math and science. The first recommendation of the Why So Few report highlights the importance of exposing students to role models and dispelling stereotypes. This is where you, our STEM ambassador, can help. By dispelling stereotypes and challenging misconceptions, you will inspire more students to consider a career in STEM. Too often, when we talk about how we entered a STEM career, we begin with an explanation like, because I was good at math and science. When we use this language, an emphasis is placed on STEM careers requiring a strong math and science interest and proficiency. I've even seen career websites for students advertise STEM careers with phrases like, do you like to work really hard math problems? Or do you like to work long hours in the lab? While I am sure that there are some people who that is actually an attractive selling point, that is not the best way to interest and intrigue the majority of students towards STEM careers. One of the key objectives of this training is to transition us from that language to speak with more equitable messages, or in a way that is appealing to more types of students. After all, if we are going to meet the STEM demands, we have to begin appealing to students with diverse personalities, interests, learning styles, values, and goals. The opportunities in STEM are practically limitless and available to all types of students, not just the math and science whiz kids. Sure, math and science are very important, and a foundation in math and science to varying degrees is the first step to how you enter a STEM discipline. But when we look at motivation, and in an effort to entice more students to pursue careers in STEM, messages of working hard math problems for long hours is hardly the best slogan. Research shows that educators, students, and the general public have a poor understanding of what STEM professionals actually do on a day-to-day basis. And there is a strong sense that disciplines such as engineering and computer science are not for everyone, and perhaps especially not for girls. Past and many current messages of careers in STEM frame it as requiring extraordinary skills in math and science, and that without an aptitude and strong interest in these subjects, one is unlikely to succeed. The truth is, we, as STEM professionals, have often been our own worst enemies when it comes to describing what we do. We often talk about the minutiae, which is likely very exciting to us, but we miss the big picture, and that is what we need to share with the world, especially to students. In order to attract more young people to careers in engineering, the National Academy of Engineering commissioned a study to identify and test positive messages of engineering to improve the public's understanding. The study found that the branding of engineers must be modified to appeal to different audiences. By changing the conversation from an emphasis on math and science to the value engineering and STEM in general has on our society, we can attract more students to these disciplines. The report recommends that the tested messages are used to guide conversations about engineering in order to effectively increase student awareness of opportunities in engineering and, in turn, spark their interest in engineering careers. The messages selected and emphasized in this work are, number 1, engineers make a world of difference and help shape our future. Number 2, Engineering is essential to our health, happiness, and safety. And number 3, engineers are creative and collaborative problem solvers. While these messages are the results of the study specifically for engineering, one can easily correlate these to describe STEM professionals and STEM careers, and that is our goal. These are the messages that should be the central theme of your stories and interactions with students as a STEM role model. How can you describe your work according to these messages? Can you paint the big picture while still sharing exciting details about what it is that you do? Describe how your work makes a world of difference and shapes our future. What are some examples of how your work influences our health, happiness, and/or our safety? Creativity and collaboration are great messages to dispel fears of a cartoon Dilbert-like life. How do you solve problems with creativity and collaboration? Pause the video now and take a few moments to consider how you can tell your story through these 3 messages. I've got a couple of more questions for you to reflect on moving on. First, why did you initially choose your career path? What are your reasons for being in your role now? Pause the video and consider your answers. What were your answers? Did you choose your career path because of the potential earnings? Did you want to work with people and make a difference and contribute to society? Or are you in your job now because you simply love the work? Well, the final source, the third key component of our STEM role model framework, is a study by Duffy and Sedlacek analyzing the work values associated with student career choices. Based on the literature, this paper describes essentially 4 key work values from which we make decisions on our careers. First is intrinsic values, typically referring to the importance placed on autonomy and interest. Social values refer to an importance placed on working with people and making a contribution to society. Extrinsic values refer to an importance placed on making money and having job security. And finally, prestige values refer to an importance placed on having a prestigious and respected occupation. Which work values can you relate to, and which line up with your choices? Research shows that younger generations are increasingly opting towards careers based on intrinsic values. The data from this study suggests that students may be placing more emphasis on intrinsic interest and autonomy in their career choice and less emphasis on making money and finding prestigious careers. Even more of a reason to use the changing the conversation messages you've just learned. You see, every person is likely to have motivations and values from each of the work value quadrants, and priorities can change over time. For me personally, I may have initially been attracted to my education and career in computer science and engineering for extrinsic and prestige values, but I have remained in STEM because of the intrinsic and social values. Therefore, the point is to recognize that there are different ways of talking about careers in STEM in order to attract and appeal to students. For example, as a STEM role model, one would not always want to talk about engineering as being such a high-paying job. While it certainly is, and that is attractive to many students, that is not all that engineering or other STEM careers offer. STEM careers are interesting, and many roles can allow for independence. STEM careers are highly collaborative and make significant contributions to society. STEM careers are high-paying and are in high demand, and they are prestigious and respected occupations as well. So reflect on your experiences. How can you tell your personal STEM story in a way that touches on each of the 4 quadrants? In review, the 3 key guidelines for STEM role models are 1. Dispel stereotypes and challenge misconceptions. 2. Promote proper and positive STEM messaging. And 3. Appeal to student work values. A STEM ambassador or role model should aim to achieve all 3 in their interactions with students. Now moving on, students need role models who can put this framework into practice. Now that we've reviewed the suggested guidelines for us as STEM ambassadors, let's talk about what to do with students as a STEM role model. Most importantly, you want to craft your story using what you've just learned, and I've already suggested a few pauses for you to begin crafting your personal STEM story. Second, the grand challenges for the 21st century can be great talking points to get students interested, engaged, and thinking. Third, I want to explain the breadth of options and opportunities available in STEM. And finally, to leave a lasting impression on students, hands-on activities can be fun and memorable when paired with your personal story. I'll share a few resources for activities you can do with students. Personal stories are meaningful because they allow you to connect with students. You've got the 3 key messages in your back pocket, and you know that people are drawn to careers based on different values. Using these messages and this knowledge, craft your story. I'm not talking about a full autobiography. Simply, what do you love about being a STEM professional? What impact does your work have on the world today? I challenge you to practice telling your story and think of different ways to tell your story for students of different ages. Try to connect your story to the community in which those students know and understand. Where is STEM happening in their neighborhood to which you can draw their attention? Relate your story to real-world and real-time events. Natural disasters provide a good opportunity to talk about STEM and its influences. You can talk about how STEM helps us better predict disasters and how STEM helps us recover post-disaster. In addition, recount and share your experiences as a student. Since careers in STEM aren't as tangible as familiar jobs like nursing or teaching, you can open doors to opportunity they have likely never imagined. So through your story, your goal is to make STEM come alive as an exciting, interesting, and worthwhile career. After all, STEM professionals make a world of difference and help shape our future. Pause the video now and think about these 2 questions. Relate your story to the 3 key messages and 4 work values. There is no doubt that engineering and the science, technology, and math that enabled it has influenced everything about our daily lives. But as far as we've come, we still have so far to go. What is next for science and engineering? As a STEM ambassador, sometimes it is difficult to know what to talk about with students. One tool that many STEM role models and educators have found as a valuable discussion tool are the 14 grand challenges for engineering. Learn more about the report online, but listed here are the biggest challenges for science and engineering to solve in the coming decades. Meeting these challenges will make the world not only a more technologically advanced and connected place, but also a more sustainable, safe, healthy, and joyous, in other words, a better place. The future scientists and engineers to which you will be a role model will be working collaboratively and creatively to solve these problems that are essential to our health, happiness, and safety for the decades to come. Isn't it obvious now? STEM professionals really do make a world of difference and are truly shaping our future. Did you know that 7 out of 10 of the fastest growing occupations requiring at least a 2-year degree are in STEM? In addition, many jobs require STEM literacy and skills, and these laborers are also in demand. Career and technical education can be a great pathway for some students into STEM careers. The advanced placement path, while also a great trajectory into STEM careers, is not always accessible to all students. However, a career in STEM should be accessible. Some high-paying, in-demand STEM jobs require only a certification, while some require graduate degrees. The point is, there is a continuum of demand, as are pathways in the STEM careers. We want you to be aware that there are multiple pathways to and opportunities in STEM careers for more students than those typically tracked, such as the AP Calculus stars, and we want you to convey this breadth to students. There is an abundance of opportunities in STEM and even more career options and opportunities that we don't always think about that are available with the foundation or education in STEM. How many jobs have you had in your career? Have your roles changed? How are you using STEM in a way that a student might not have imagined? For example, companies like Texas Instruments hire engineers to be their sales and marketers. Also, engineers make great business leaders because of their excellent problem-solving skills. Did you know approximately 1 in 5 Fortune 500 CEOs has a degree in engineering? Remember that when you're talking to students, we want them to see the big picture. And the big picture includes endless opportunities with a solid foundation in technological literacy and problem-solving skills, and this means STEM. Listed here are 4 great resources for you and students to explore careers in STEM. The first 2 links you can browse through detailed information of hundreds of careers to discover what STEM professionals do, what they earn, and what it takes to prepare for those careers. The last 2 links are websites targeted towards middle school and high school girls, specifically about careers in engineering. In addition, NAEP has a really cool lesson plan and activity on STEM career exploration, and it's called STEM Scavenger Hunt, pictured to the right, and it uses the first 2 linked resources. Download the 2 worksheets, resource handout, and lesson plan for a great activity to do with students. When being an ambassador to the STEM professions, not only do we want to use positive messages, dispel stereotypes, and appeal to student work values, but we want our interactions to be fun. Sometimes you may just be invited to come speak, but if you have time, try a hands-on activity with students and make your visit even more memorable. Here are 5 resources for you. During this session, we've given you a framework or guidelines for your interactions with students as a STEM role model. Then we provided you with some tools and resources to put that framework into practice. In summary, this is the big idea that we want you to take away. Role models can attract students to STEM careers by sharing personal stories using positive STEM messaging. These messages will help you to appeal to student interests and values in an equitable and accessible way. Those messages are: STEM professionals make a world of difference and help shape our future. STEM careers are essential to our health, happiness, and safety. STEM professionals are creative and collaborative problem solvers. In addition, acknowledge that when we talk about STEM, we want to appeal to all student work values, intrinsic, extrinsic, social, and prestige. If you follow the guidelines described to you in this video, you will inspire more diverse students to consider a career in STEM. In closing, here's a note from a female 3rd grader I received some years ago. She writes, "Dear Ms. Pollock, it was a pleasure having you at our school. I liked learning about your job and how you got there. Your life is so interesting. I never knew people were so eager to get women to work as engineers. I like your job. Maybe I will become a design engineer just like you. You are my role model." This gal is probably just about to enter high school now. I don't know what she's doing, but I hope she is still considering a career in STEM. And who knows, maybe you will be her next role model, and she'll become a STEM professional that changes the world. Thank you so much for your time, and now go, be a STEM ambassador.